Thank you all so.
Hey, Tim. Welcome back. Great to see you again after our last in-person adventure we had when we talked last. And Tim, you're on mute. I'm just gonna be that person.
Hey, sorry. And I'm Tim. And I was having some technical issues, but I'm back now.
Yeah.
It's great to be here with everyone. Shelby, it's great to see you. It's been a month only since we did this last time.
Yeah, this is our new rhythm. So we'll get to do this more often. And, time flies when you're having fun or dealing with sick kids and avoiding ice storms. But we're going to be planning on having these live streams the first Wednesday of every month at varying times to cover all things Seagull related. So, Tim, that looks like a Tim Hortons cup.
It is a Tim Hortons cup. I'm drinking Tim Hortons today. I'm excited.
But why? You usually have great coffee at home, don't you? That you make
yourself? I do. I take my coffee very seriously, but I went out this morning, which is why I'm a bit frazzled because I'm a little delayed in my schedule. So I went out this morning and I got Tim Hortons coffee because I'm celebrating coming to Canada. I'm looking forward to coming to Canada.
Aren't you in Canada?
Yes, I am in Canada, but I'm looking forward to you and the rest of the Gloss team and everyone who's a Seagull user to come to Canada on May the 8th for the Gloss annual meeting in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, where there is lots and lots of Tim Hortons.
Well, I can't wait to get my share of Tim Hortons. I actually used to have one close by to me in college and don't have one anymore, so that will be nice.
I know that there are a few Tim Hortons in the United States, and that's part of Canada's way to encourage people to move to Canada or visit Canada, like for the Gloss annual meeting, for instance.
Awesome. Well, if you're a Tim Hortons fan, you should definitely think about joining us in May for the annual meeting. So, Tim, given that we just talked 4 weeks ago, what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today it's very exciting. We've got Kate Geschwendt, who's the VP of Experience for DIG. And DIG is our design partner, design and development partner, who helped us build Seagull. She has taken us through the visioning process and through the development process and continues to help us as we chart the future for Seagull. So I'll be interviewing Kate in just a little while. And looking forward to her comments and feedback, and really, I think, sharing with all of us and you, our users, how we design and build Seagull.
Yeah, that will be great. I'm looking forward to that as well, because I've been around for part of the Seagull design process, but I wasn't involved in very early stages of it, and definitely don't know the history of it the same way that Kate and you do. So that will be great to hear from you both. Is there anything else we need to cover before we get Kate on?
Well, how do comments work? What if people have feedback or questions during this live stream? I always forget.
Oh, right. Yes. So regardless of where you're watching from, there's a comments section on the video stream, and you can just write your comment in there and it will get sent to us, and our great behind the scenes manager will make sure we get those comments and questions in. So if you have anything or you want to share where are you joining us from or how you use Seagull, we would love to hear from you. And also we encourage questions once we get to the interview with Kate.
Right. So if someone has a question that they want to ask Kate, can they just write in and somehow our producer, David, will let us know, and then we can pass that on to Kate as well?
Yeah, that's the plan.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's get started. Is Kate here? Kate? Welcome, Kate. There she is.
Thanks for having me.
Kate Geschwendt, she's a VP of Experience Design at DIG. Kate, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us about DIG just for a minute or two, and then tell us about your role at DIG and how you help organizations like Gloss.
Yeah, so my name's Kate Geschwendt, like you guys said. I'm the VP of Experience at Dig, which is an agency that really specializes on helping product companies, kind of most specifically, visualize their vision, kind of go through the planning, the research, the strategizing into design and development. So my role is specifically around the design. So I oversee an awesome team of designers and strategists who help products like Seagull kind of come to an idea of what should we build, how should we build it, and then actually visualize that through design and work with development to get it built and out there for everyone to use it.
Tim, you're on mute. I'm going to be that person.
How did that happen? I was planning on wearing my I'm on mute t-shirt today, but I forgot. How has the process been with Gloss? Like, how did all this get started, going back to 2020, maybe, when we first engaged with you?
Yeah, so we were engaged to kind of help Seagull figure out what should we build and how should we build it. And so we spent a lot of time looking at the existing tools that Gloss had to offer to their users. We spent a lot of time looking at other systems that had map interfaces, data platforms, social media apps even, just to kind of figure out what are these other industries doing really, really well that we could reuse and kind of try to introduce into Seagull and think about how our potential audience could interact with an application while they're on the Great Lakes. So the other part of that is really getting to know who your audience is, right? So we know that we're building the right thing. So a lot of stakeholder interviews, a lot of user interviews to really try to understand who are we building for, what do they want, and how can we do it in the right way.
So then, apart from working with an awesome team at Gloss, what excited you? What had excited Dig about this particular project when Gloss first approached you?
Yeah, so I think, well, most of us are in Michigan, or at least in the Midwest. So we're all huge water lovers and huge Great Lakes lovers in particular. And so I think for us, we really love the idea of helping to build something that would allow anyone, whether they're just casually using the Great Lakes or if they're analyzing something on the Great Lakes, to have an application to allow them to have the most optimal enjoyment perspective they could have, or really kind of dig in and get an educational aspect as well about learning about the health of the lakes. And for us, that was really exciting as a bunch of people who use the Great Lakes to kind of get that same experience, right? Like, to build something that we can use is pretty awesome. Because that's not always the case. Sometimes we're building things that we will literally never see once they go live because we're not in their audience. So that was really cool for us to kind of be a part of. And
thanks. That's one of the benefits of Seagull, is that we know that tens of thousands of people experience Seagull on a regular basis. Last year was well over 100,000 visitors that we had to Seagull, with 10,000 who created their own account on Seagull. And once you have your own account, then you can configure your units. Maybe you prefer Celsius over Fahrenheit, meters over imperial. You can set up notifications so you can get text alerts sent to your smartphone. This year, we hope to take that to over 1 million users with 10,000 registered users. So how important is the design process for you, for a group like us, so we can make something that, enables those potentially millions of people to use an application like Seagull?
Very important. I think we use a model called human-centered design at Dig, and really that bubbles down to staying focused on the user or the users. So Seagull has a unique challenge of catering to both scientific audiences and also recreational people. With very, very different thinkers, very different use cases when they come to Seagull. And so really, we want to make sure that we're understanding them deeply. We're remembering that users don't use applications in a bubble, right? So at Dig, we're big advocates of thinking about the user's whole environment. So thinking about, especially with Seagull, when they're interacting with your platform, there's probably going to be sun glare. There's going to be a lot of other noise or distractions going on. And probably just more fun things to do than stare at a phone, right? Like, if you're science, minded, going out and collecting data is probably a lot more exciting than looking at a screen. If you're kayaking, that's probably more excited than looking at a screen. So how can we really understand these audiences? Think about, why would I be opening Seagull? Surface that information really quickly to them, and then let them get back to what they're doing, right? So we really believe good design doesn't get in your way. It just lets you do what you want to do and then get back to what you're doing. So that's really the approach we take with Seagull as well, to make sure that we're really helping someone and not hindering them.
Right. And does that also translate into making it not complicated, like really trying to keep it simple so that really anyone can use Seagull? I remember someone early on asked me if we were going to have a tutorial or a training manual at the beginning of our development process.
Yes, and that's definitely something that we like to try to avoid. So at least in my mind, and I think my team would agree, I think good design is invisible. Good design lets you just mindlessly, honestly, get through doing a task. That doesn't mean that there's not an insane amount of planning to make it mindless. But that, again, is why it's so important to know the audience, really think through, what are they doing? What are all of the edge cases that they could be doing? Because nobody will ever do something the way that you think they're going to do it. So really think through all of that, like human nature element inside of application design. Think through, okay, what if they end up clicking 6 clicks that way? How do we quickly get them back to where they need to be? And spending a lot of time focusing on that and making sure that we can get someone as quick as we can to what they're trying to do and then get out.
Right. Well, we know that certainly Seagull's meant to be an easy to, in fact, we like to say people should know how to use Seagull before they've ever opened the application. Someone like my mom, who is interested in storms on Lake Huron, for instance, or maybe Natalie from Milwaukee, who's watching this live stream right now. Thanks, Natalie. Is interested in something out on the lakes and maybe is nervous about interacting with scientific data. It shouldn't have to be something that is intimidating. I'm assuming that's how you draw inspiration when designing Seagull?
Yeah, and I think that has been, challenge isn't the right word, but one of the challenges our team had to dive into too is, how do we take all of this seemingly very complex scientific data, which maybe none of us were crazy familiar with before we started talking to Gloss, and how do we take that, make it very easily digestible, understandable to someone like your grandma, who maybe has no idea and doesn't want to have an idea, but wants to know what beach she should go to that'll be the most enjoyable for that day. So I think a lot of that starts with Dig really diving in and making sure we understand what you're saying, what your scientists are saying, what your researchers are saying, and then figuring out, when we talk to recreational users, hey, like, is this helpful for you? First of all, should we even be surfacing this to someone? And if we do, should it be said in the same language? Is there a simpler way of saying it? How do we cut jargon out, but yet still keep the integrity of that data? That's definitely a big part of what we're thinking about in the background of Seagull, for sure.
Right.
Because we don't want to be intimidating.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. And we have a question from the audience. Mark has written in. So thanks, Mark. This is great. A great question, because the question is, do you consider it to be an application or web content? The answer to that is neither, actually. Seagull is a platform. It's an interactive platform, but it's also an interoperable platform. So we designed it, and you may have heard me talk in the past about a front end and a back end. So the part that the people see, like the shiny part of your brand new Tesla, is the web application that Dig has helped us design. So that is very much a web application that works on mobile and in your desktop or laptop browser. But there's also this powerful engine that powers Seagull, and that's the back end that we talked about. And Dig is involved in that process as well, along with our other design and development partner, Spindance. And then the Gloss team is heavily involved in that too. So Seagull is a platform. We expose some of the user experience through a web application, which is what Dig has helped us design.
Yep.
Great. Hopefully, Mark, that answers your question, and that was a good one. Thanks for helping us clarify. Kate, when you were designing Seagull, did you draw any particular inspiration for the user experience?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we kind of looked at some map interfaces, specifically Zillow, because a lot of times when you're looking at these types of mapping-based systems, there's other industries, other large companies who maybe have solved a lot of problems that we can pull inspiration from. So thinking through like, how does Zillow show houses on a map? How do they allow for filtering? How do they allow for searching, right? And then that kind of led us down other paths of, okay, well, what about other systems that allow for robust searching? How do they introduce social interaction, right? So we kind of started diving down a very deep web of things that maybe don't seem on the surface connected to Seagull, but allowed us to really kind of start thinking through what are patterns that users are seeing in other applications that they're probably using, and how can we repurpose that and kind of help get us to a solution that someone's comfortable with. It's easy to use. It's like a familiar pattern. So we're not trying to create something from scratch that no one's ever seen before, and then giving them scientific data. So definitely looked at a lot of different industries. And then I would say also just users, people in the Midwest, water lovers, like just getting to know different people and how they think and how they would interact with the Great Lakes and this type of data, and thinking through really what are their goals and allowing that to inspire us as well.
And
Fantastic.
Kate, I think one of the things I heard from your team in the last year was that you guys actually went out and used Seagull in the wild, right? Like you guys took the app and went out in the wild to use it, which is really cool that you guys are like testing it while you're developing it and in the setting.
Yeah. So our COO, Nate Smith, has a boat, and he was actually incredibly familiar with buoys and Port Sheldon buoy in particular. And so they took his boat out with the app, kind of got to see how it performed, see how it compared to maybe systems that some people had used before. And that was really fun to kind of see it come to life and see, you know, okay, now what can we make better now that we're even looking at it? It was really fun for sure.
That's great. Now, Kate, you mentioned something about water lovers. I love that expression for how we describe people who use Seagull, because that really applies to scientists, water treatment managers, chemists, my mom, your mom, really, you know, Nate, everybody who uses Seagull could be considered a water lover. Now,
for sure.
How do we know that Seagull is a great application? Do we have any validating? This is a leading question. Do we have any validating awards or successes that we should point to? I'll let you announce it.
Well, we did win IDA, which is a big design international competition. We submitted Seagull, and we actually won a silver award for that. So that was pretty awesome. We got some really great feedback even from the judges about the interface itself and kind of how we present the data and allow users to navigate through it. So that was pretty exciting for our team, and I know for Gloss as well, just because it was kind of a culmination of a lot of hard work. So it was nice to get recognized for it, which is sweet. And we also do a lot of user testing, offer a lot of great ways for people to provide feedback right on the app. And overall, I would say that's been really positive and really fun to hear people's ideas about what else should we do and kind of what can we improve, what's working really great already, and things like that.
And I will say a lot of the, sorry, Tim.
No, you go ahead.
But a lot of the feedback that we got is actually from our data providers. So to answer a question that came in around what type of scientific instrumentation is used to power the data in the platform, if you don't mind, I'll answer that, if that's okay. Okay.
I was hoping you would.
Okay. So a lot of the, all the data is voluntarily contributed to Seagull from operators around the Great Lakes Basin. So if you go to Seagull, you can see all the dots on the map, and we either pull that data in from a database or they are directly connected to Gloss. A lot of it is, we have a lot of YSI sondes, which collect water quality information, a lot of temperature sensors and wave sensors out there of different varieties, and meteorological, gosh, that's a hard word to do fast, is meteorological sensor and equipment out there as well for wind and air temperature, relative humidity. So there's a really wide variety of stuff in the Great Lakes, and we are very happy to be able to support it all and continue expanding what's supported on Seagull, because it's an agile application or platform that allows us to do that. So yeah, we're really happy and excited about the expansion of Seagull so far and the data it can serve and how it serves it.
Well, that's a good lead into my next question for Kate, which is, Kate, you've heard some of my crazy ideas for where we want to take Seagull, but what excites you, maybe even personally, about some of the new features that we're hoping to build into Seagull in the future?
Yeah, I think really just building a community, an engaged community. I think, at least I can say, as someone who does go to the Great Lakes almost every weekend, it would be really awesome to find people who are maybe doing similar things to me, and where are they doing those types of things that they're having the best experience. Like, so for example, we kayak a lot, but I don't necessarily want to kayak when there's 6-foot waves somewhere, or 4-foot waves, or 2 feet, really any waves. I want it to be flat. And so like this idea of having a community where we can like share secrets about the lakes, or like share information, right? Or I'm thinking about my brother-in-law was a huge fisherman, and ways of him to connect with people, maybe brag a little bit about the fish he's getting. Really just this idea of like taking what we already made and building it into something that we can all kind of love together while we're on the lake, I think is really exciting. And we're really pumped to kind of help Seagull to continue to get there and figure out what does that mean, right? Like I just kind of listed a bunch of high level stuff, but how do we actually do that? And what would be the best approach? And all of that kind of planning, I think is really fun and exciting to kind of be a part of.
Great. Well, there's not totally a downside to kayaking in 2 or 3 meter waves.
Some people are braver than me.
Well, the reason is, Kate, is because that gives the search and rescue people who also love Seagull something to do when you fall out of your kayak and you need to be rescued. So we applaud the search and rescue teams who are out there using Seagull as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, Kate. We're super excited to have you here today. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Kate Geschwendt from DIG, VP of Experience Design. We sincerely appreciate all of the help that you have done to lead us to this point, and also where you're going to continue to take Seagull in the future.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. It's great to be a part of the team. It's great to be here today. So it's been fun.
Fantastic. Shelby, what's next on our agenda?
That's it. We're done. Unless there's any more questions or comments that come in, we can keep it short and sweet. And we will be back in early April. Let me check my calendar. That would be April 5th is the next day we'll be back. And then the next one after that will be actually the second Wednesday of May in Toronto at the IAGLR meeting.
Great. And I believe that's going to be at the Hilton downtown Toronto that'll be May the 10th, I believe. I believe that's the Wednesday of that week. We're going to be live doing more of a studio style at the IAGLR conference. If you're able to attend or drop by, we'd love to see you. You could ask us in person, perhaps, some questions about Seagull. It'll be Shelby and I, and maybe a few random people that we pull in from the conference talking about Seagull. And like Shelby said, the first Wednesday of every month will be a Seagull live stream for our users. That's you who are watching this. And we appreciate you tuning in. And hopefully we'll see you on the water and in the app.
Thank you. We just got one last question in from Al, and he asks, will you measure currents and their speed? So there are some buoys that are equipped to monitor currents, including direction and speed. So yes, there are some examples out there on the lakes. If you search for, I think it's velocity eastward or northward velocity, those will show up. One example, and granted, the buoys aren't out yet. Remember, they're all still doing their winter hibernation / maintenance time in warm labs, or at least on land. But one example is buoy 45199 that has a current string it measures currents throughout the water column off of Racine, Wisconsin.
Fantastic. Thanks. And Shelby, I've got a question for you before we go here. What if we have a user or a municipality or a community or an organization that wants to put their own buoy in the water? Do they get in touch with you at Gloss to help with that process?
They do, yeah. So if you have a platform, or if you're interested in deploying something, you can either email me directly, shelby@gloss.org, or go to support@gloss.org, but you can email me directly, and I'm happy to talk you through the process of getting it connected or offer guidance on platform choices or help with permitting process in terms of steps and understanding what you need to do to make that happen. So
Great.
Good question, Tim.
All right. Well, thank you, Shelby, and thanks, Kate, for joining us, and to our producer, David, who has makes these live streams happen. It's March the 1st, and we'll see you in a month on another Seagull Users live stream. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel @RealGloss, and we've got lots of other videos and content. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the water and in the app on Seagull, especially as we slide into spring in the next few weeks here. People get back out on the water.
Oh, one other quick question came in. I just see it highlighted from Jesse Groh, who is actually one of our buoy operators out of Milwaukee. Any updates on data visualizations? Yes, Jesse, there will be hopefully some really exciting things to share about that in April. Wind roses, comparisons within different platforms and parameters. So stay tuned, and we will definitely be sharing that once it's live on the front end of Seagull. So I'm glad that you asked and that you're thinking about that.
Yeah, great question. Thanks, Jen. That's
Yeah,
two people.
thanks for the audience. This is a really great audience today. Thank you, everyone
Very engaged
watching.
audience. It's very dominated from Milwaukee, so we're excited about it. I think Jessie's from Milwaukee, isn't she?
She is, yeah. Maybe they're streaming it at the school there. I went to grad school in Milwaukee, so it's near and dear to me. So I'm very happy to
I've never been to Milwaukee. I'd like to go someday. The only thing I know
Milwaukee's a great city. It's very underrated. I think it gets overshadowed a lot by Chicago, but I really, really love Milwaukee.
Well, Laverne and Shirley made it their home, so I think it's got to be good enough for everybody.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And thanks, Tim, Kate, and David.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.